Wonderful. Well, are there any questions that you guys may have as far as all the information that I was able to share with you guys this evening?
Well, now that the presentation is over, I have one question that I have been holding on to from earlier on in the presentation.
Okay.
And that was, how do we get our children who are not excited about some of these foods, how do we get them more excited about eating some of the things that might help them with their energy and that might help them with their exercise and that even might help them with their obtaining good sleeping habits? You know, there's so many sugary foods and so many that kind of throw our children off, and as children they don't know what the best things are to eat. So how do we get them more excited about eating healthy foods?
Well, that's a great question, first of all, because unfortunately what children desire is what they see advertised on TV. That media is utilized in a way that it influences them so much, and it's a very thriving economic way of the country gaining and being able to become rich basically off the health of others. But your question is, how can I get the child more involved? Well, you'll be surprised if you tried to make a snack at home. It's very easy for you to be at home and make granola, and depending on your schedule, if you bought the oats, if you bought the dried cranberries or the dried cherries or the dried peaches, and you just put it together and bake it, the child can see what it takes. Now, a child may want, Mom, Dad, I want to have, let's say, cinnamon rolls. You can say, you know what, let's try to make it at home. And that way you actually control the sugar content that is in that snack. Now, if you want your child to eat more greens, you'll be surprised how much modeling takes place. If you model to your child having more salads on your plate, the child will desire that. And we as parents need to do a better job modeling what we would like our children to consume. If they see Mom and Dad going through drive-thru and grabbing and coming home with a bag of Taco Bell or McDonald's or fast food place, that's what they're going to desire. If you want them to eat more vegetables, it's not difficult to have a garden. You can just buy a planter kind of garden kit, and you can just start trying out, let's say, carrots. If you wanted to just do tomatoes are so stress-free to grow. So I would encourage you to just venture out and try to see things you would like to introduce into your diet. So I actually would challenge you to take a closer look on what you consume and what example you're being in trying to bring that into your child's diet. Another question? Yes, ma'am.
Yes. Do you believe that homemade stuff is more healthier for children instead of store-bought stuff?
I really do. I do. Mainly because the sugar content is obviously limited. It's more controlled portions. You have to understand that a lot of things say high corn fructose syrup, and they say that's a good thing because it's from corn. But if you're at home, you can actually, instead of using sugar, you can use agave nectar instead to sweeten your food. Instead of using what many consider being the white sugar, being something that's very detrimental for the body, which it is, you could consider doing brown sugar, which actually has a lower caloric intake for the child. So yes, my answer to your question is, it is more, it's healthier, just every aspect of it. Nothing's frozen, nothing has been packaged and has traveled from who knows how many thousands of miles. It was just prepared right before you. It was served and it was consumed not long after it was prepared. So I would encourage you to do that. Yes. Any other question? Yes, ma'am.
Do you have any other fun recipes for breakfast instead of cereal?
Oh, of course. I mean, you have the options from having a smoothie that you can have yogurt. You can have Greek yogurt. You can have some frozen fruits. You can have some apple juice. That can be an option. I mean, you can also make oatmeal. We all know oatmeal may sound boring, but you can always spice up your oatmeal. Adding some fruits, add some strawberries, add some peaches, add some blueberries. It doesn't have to be just plain old oatmeal. And something else I would suggest is that you can buy whole grain bread and make French toast with it. You know, just let it stay out overnight. It'll get harder, so you cut it up in your slices. You can use egg white instead of regular egg. You can just go ahead and batter that up, put a bit of cinnamon and a little bit of brown sugar, and cook that, and that's a wonderful breakfast. And it'll be exciting because the child can get involved in having that for breakfast as well. Yes.
Thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
Do you believe items like Pediasure is safe for children?
I'm not a doctor, but one thing I encourage all parents is to look at the sugar content and what you're consuming and what you're having your child consume. Now, if you have a Pediasure, I believe the sugar content is over 20 grams, and what you need to do is divide that amount by 4. So if you have, for example, a Pediasure that could be 24, 26 grams. Now, I'm not speaking against Pediasure, because some children have to consume that, because that's the closest that they can get to getting the nutrients that they need. But once you divide that by 4, you will get 6 tablespoons. If you get a cup, which is one of the activities that I have for you guys to do, and you pour 6 tablespoons of sugar, would you actually drink that cup straight up? You would choke. You wouldn't be able to chew. You wouldn't be able to really, your saliva, your mouth wouldn't be able to break that down. You would choke. So I would say it's not necessarily Pediasure, but just any other drink that you want to give to your children, or you want to give to your daycare, or you want to bring into a party. Really consider the grams of sugar that you may have there as well. Yes. Any other question? Yes, sir.
Can you name some of the diseases that unhealthy kids suffer from?
Yes, that's a great question as well. Sleep apnea. Sleep apnea it's an epidemic with our youth. That means that they're not able to sleep straight through the night. Now, if you have a child waking up ready to go to school for 8 hours or maybe more if they have an after-school activity and they didn't get their rest, how frustrated, how irritable, how short-tempered would this child be? So sleep apnea is actually one of the diseases children are battling, and some of them actually, because they're overweight, their lungs are not able to fully expand and receive the oxygen that they need, and they have to sleep with oxygen masks. Imagine having an 8-year-old having to sleep with an oxygen mask. That means that child has to lay still, can't really mobilize, and have a good night's rest. And then that affects what? Not only does it affect their behavior, it also affects the way that they perform at school. So if they're performing poor at school, then it's affecting their self-esteem. Then they're not up to par with their peers. And then that child starts growing up believing that they're not capable of achieving things. Now, other diseases could be diabetes, very good. Diabetes. And no child should have to have gestational diabetes too.
Heart disease.
Heart disease is another one. Thank you. He really was paying attention, to the presentation. So those are a few to name. And they even have suffered from their ligaments, their joints, because they're so overweight. Their bodies and their bones are not ready for that excessive pounds. Correct, muscle fatigue. That's right. Yes. Yes, sir.
So why did you choose this topic? Why is it so interesting to you?
It's very interesting to me because that's our future. I believe that as a nation, we focus so much on trying to empower our country economically and educational, but our education is our future, is our children. So our children are the ones that we need to empower, and I don't think we really have taken the time to really consider as a society all of the things that we've allowed to go by. You shouldn't have, if you look at a classroom and you have 26 students and 20 out of the 26 are overweight, that's a problem. That wasn't an issue you and I had at our age. We were very active. We used our imagination if we wanted to do something. We didn't have to depend on, go get the last video game as a way for us to entertain ourselves. We'll go outside and whatever was out there was our toy. So I'm very passionate because I believe our children need to be empowered, and we're cutting our lifeline. They're our future. So I think it's important for us to, really get involved and become more
I
aware.
have a follow-up question.
Yes, sir.
Okay, I didn't hear anything about genetically modified food, the chemical food that they're making, and I didn't want that grow naturally. So have you looked at that also, or did you consider that when you were doing your research?
Well, I did not, but that you have a point as far as what you consume can also affect the way your body reacts. But simply because we're consuming so much junk food, I focused on that. I'm coming away from that. And that itself, as we know, is manufactured in tons of different factories. So we know has a lot of different things that are unhealthy. So I did not, because I think we need to come away from fast food and focus more on, what's nutritional for the body. So, but thank you everyone.